defeating dragons, breeding the greatest of horses, being the most loyal of friends. Hello and welcome to The Broken Sword, your YouTube home for The Lord of the Rings and all things J.R.R. Tolkien. In today's video, we look at the realm of Rohan and how it came to be.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
The Kingdom of Rohan played a key role in the defeat of Sauron, and the Ride of the Rohirrim is one of our personal favourite scenes from the book and the movies, though there are slight differences between the two. The history of the people of Rohan have their origins in the northern lands of Rhovanion over 1,000 years into the Third Age, but their people became most well known to us from the times of the War of the Ring. That is not to say nothing happened earlier in their histories though, all of which began under the rule of their first king, Eorl the Young, whose aid of Gondor in times past brought about the union of those two great peoples and the Oath of Eorl. So, in today's video, we will look at the history of Rohan and how it came to be with their first king in the Third Age. But before we continue with the Horse Lords, let me pause for a moment to thank our sponsor for today's video, Incogni. For those of you who don't know, there are several companies out there who will go and buy and sell your personal data online. Your name, your email, your home address, and could even go as far as your employment and purchasing histories. In a way, it is like you have put on one of Sauron's tainted rings, and he now knows all about you. The thing is, if this information falls into the wrong hands, then, as the Rings of Power proved, bad stuff can happen. This is where Incogni comes into things, just like Gandalf riding in at first light on the 5th day. Incogni will help you protect your data by requesting on your behalf to have all your personal data removed from these places, all without you having to lift a finger. And it is simple to do. Create an account, grant them the right to work for you. They do all the legwork and you get to kick back with your feet up and some salted pork while they keep you updated every step of the way. Imagine you've signed up innocently for some loyalty program, giving them your personal number while you do so. That has now been passed on to some data broker and sold to an unknown company. They could try and ring you with a scam and seem very convincing as they have your personal data. Sure sounds like something Saruman would do, but again, not if you've used Incogni. And they want to help you all today, as the first 100 of you who use my code or follow the link in the description below will get 20% off Incogni today. So what have you got to lose in protecting yourself? Check out Incogni. I have been among them, answered Aragorn. They are proud and willful, but they are true-hearted, generous in thought and deed, bold but not cruel, wise but unlearned, writing no books, but singing many songs after the manner of the children of men before the dark years. But I do not know what has happened here of late, nor in what mind the Rohirrim may now be between the traitor Saruman and the threat of Sauron. They have long been the friends of the people of Gondor, though they are not akin to them. It was in forgotten years long ago that Eorl the Young brought them out of the north, and their kinship is rather with the Bardings of Dale, and with the Beornings of the wood, among whom may still be seen many men tall and fair, as are the riders of Rohan. At least they will not love the orcs. This is a good introduction to the people of the Mark in The Lord of the Rings. We have another excerpt here as well that gives us an indication of the kind of lands their people have come to love and delight much in with their horses, which are a crucial element of their culture and gives them their cultural identity. So I think this is a nice place to start before going into their deeper history. At the bottom they came with a strange suddenness on the grass of Rohan. It swelled like a green sea up to the very foot of the Emyn Wheel. The falling stream vanished into a deep growth of cresses and water plants, and they could hear the tinkling away in green tunnels, down long gentle slopes towards the fens of Entwash Vale far away. They seemed to have left winter clinging to the hills behind. Here the air was softer and warmer, and faintly scented, as if spring was already stirring and the sap was flowing again in herb and leaf. The word Rohan is Sindarin for horse country and Rohirrim for horse lords, but their origins, as we said, goes back to the Eotheod in the Vales of the Anduin and the forests of Mirkwood from 1856 to 2510 of the Third Age. They come from the stock of Northmen who were unattained by the previous wars against the free peoples of Middle-earth, and we have instances where Boromir is quick to hush rumours about their people when it is put to him that the Rohirrim may have been supplying black steeds to Mordor. There was no chance. Their horses, of course, are well known and a beloved symbol of their culture, but what is not so well known is that this is where Shadowfax comes from a super race of horses known as the Maeras. We will come back to this in its rightful place though. The Kingdom of Rohan is primarily a Third Age people who break away from the ancestors among the Northmen. It is believed by the people of Gondor that they originated from the House of Hador, those who decided not to join the rest of Beleriand, and so became remnants of that house that never crossed the Misty Mountains. They were, of course, then more closely kin to the Men of Dale and the Beornings. They are the middlemen, so not as related to Gondor, but they never served Sauron. So, while they are not direct descendants of the Dunedain or Númenóreans, they nevertheless managed to keep their peoples free of Sauron's influence. Though they were not kin at the time, they were allies of Gondor and the great princes of Rovanian Northmen. They and their kin served the armies of Gondor. Because of this, the ruling House of Gondor mingled with the Northmen during the reign of King Aldakar, who lived from 1255 to 1490. Some Northmen married the Dunedain of the south and were considered men of Gondor thereafter. In the late 19th century of the Third Age, after the Battle of the Plains, the region was invaded by Wain Riders and the people were enslaved. This is when the Northmen fled Rovanion, some north to Dale and others south to Gondor. Although, of course, this would not be the end of them. Marwini, son of Marhari, led one group of refugees north between the eastern bank of the Anduin and the western eaves of Mirkwood. They would settle between the Carrick and Gladden fields. It is here where they became known as the Eotheed, being in the year 1950. They moved further north because of the growing shadow of Dol Guldur. During this time though, their people multiplied and drove out the remaining hillmen as their people grew more numerous. Lord Fram led their people during this time, and slayed the dragon Scatha, leading to some disquiet between this group and the dwarves, as the dwarves had laid claim to the hoard of this dragon, it is said. Thus Fram won great wealth, but was at feud with the dwarves, who claimed the hoard of Scatha. Fram would not yield them a penny, and sent to them instead the teeth of Scatha made into a necklace, saying, "Jewels such as these you will not match in your treasuries, for they are hard to come by." Some say the dwarves slew Fram for this insult. There was no great love between Eotheed and the dwarves. The people of this land were very close to their horses, and Eorl the Young's story touches on this. Eorl the Young would become the first king of Rohan, but he would seek out a white foal that had bucked and killed his father, and he sought him out, forever seeking him. But when he did not kill the stallion, but Eorl commanded the horse give up its freedom and serve him as wergild, for the killing of his father Leod. The horse willingly submitted and was renamed Felaroth, and he was mighty among horses and was said to understand the speech of men. After the Eotheed migrated to the south, Felaroth came to be the sire of the race of horses known as the Maeras, whose line would come Shadowfax, the one we all know from the Lord of the Rings. They were long-lived and would only allow themselves to be ridden by the Lord of the Mark or their sons. That is, of course, until Gandalf broke this long tradition in The Lord of the Rings. If we move forward now though, in the year 2509 we come to a turning point for the people of Eorl with the Battle of the Field of Celebrand. When the Balcoff, who were a strong tribe of Easterlings, invade Gondor, Eorl receives a summons from the steward of Gondor, Cirion, who requested aid, pleading for help against this large and fierce army of Easterlings who had invaded Calenardon, and it was threatened with being overrun on the field. This is where the symbolic weapon of the Red Arrow was introduced, only used just a couple of times in history. Once here, as Boromir was sent by Cirion to Eorl, where it gained its name. Then also most famously from The Lord of the Rings, where it is sent to Theoden when Gondor was in dire need. Also, it is not actually known if the Red Arrow was in fact an arrow that was red, or an arrow that was stained with red blood to show how bad their situation was. But anyway, Eorl's immediate response came as a surprise even to the errand rider of Gondor who brought the message, as none were sure Eorl would even come. but he agreed quite quickly, as he was able to perceive that should Gondor fall, all other kingdoms of men would fall shortly thereafter. He would gather all men of the Eotheod that he could and rode south to the aid of Gondor, despite lacking the troops to protect his homeland. The battle was long and hard, with it appearing Gondor's armies were defeated, all hope seemed lost, and even the orcs were joining in to beat up on the Gondorian forces. However, at that moment, Eorl the Young and his cavalry came out of the north and smashed into the rear of the Easterlings, completely reversing the tide as the Balcoth were driven into the Anduin, and so Gondor was saved. This is a great historical parallel to the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. In the aftermath of this battle, Cirion realised the Eotheod would need greater lands and would become a great ally. So in the year 2510, the steward Cirion gave the land of Calenardon to these Proto-Rohirrim peoples, which had only recently been depopulated by a plague. Eorl the Young was greatly impressed and so swore the Oath of Eorl, and so their kin came to land in Calenardon, and there the Eotheod became known as the Rohirrim by the people of Gondor. They would name their realm the Riddermark, or more obviously, Rohan II, and they took the name of Eorlingas, or the people of Eorl. So there we have it, the realm of Rohan has been formed. They were granted the land they would set up in after Eorl the Young answered the desperate call of Cirion, the steward of Gondor, in their time of need. The men of Rohan are great people. Maybe not the smartest of the bunch, but still good people. And sometimes that is the most important thing. They were the masters of horses, with no others breeding any quite as kingly as those that ride from the Riddermark. The Rohirrim would play such an important role in the victory over Sauron in later years that if Eorl had never answered that call, things could have ended very differently come the end of the Third Age. With that now though, it is time for my question of the day, which is, where does Eorl rank amongst the greatest Rohan kings? Is he the greatest? Or do the like of Theoden, Eomer, or Helm Hammerhand, or even someone else come above him? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments section below. And now to shout out our patrons. You guys have been incredible in supporting our short film, and we cannot thank you enough. We have the Divine Power tier members of Kevin and Abram, the Fire Demon tier members of Nashith and Gregory, and the Wizard Staff tier members of John, Andrew, Jennifer, Hunter, and David too. Every single one of you is a true legend of the Rohirrim. And once again, thank you to Incogni for sponsoring today's video. Do not forget to check out that link in the description below. Finally, if you have managed to reach the end of the video with me today and you are enjoying what you see on the channel, please hit that subscribe button with the bell icon too, so that you can be notified of all future uploads. And so, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.